Hi everyone, welcome back. So last time I talked about discussion forums and discussion topics and threads, and before that we talked about assignments. So now we're going to talk about quizzes. I'm going to go here in my empty course shell, and again, just like with assignments and discussions, there's a couple ways that you can create quizzes. So you can come in here and you can click upload or create new quiz. Now it's set up as quizzes, but you can do tests this way as well. Or you can link the existing quiz or test in here using this existing activities. As I've said before, I think it's easier to use the quiz tab and just create the quiz and then link it. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, before I start, I just want to say there are some actions here. I'm going to come into this sample course that they've set up for us. None of these seem to have any fake submissions, but you can look at statistics as well as reports. And when you do statistics, you can look at specific questions as well as question details. This is something that is available in Blackboard, but it was, to me, a little bit more difficult to run those reports. So they made it really easy here. And especially if you're assessing a class, I think it's quite helpful. So we're going to go back to manage quizzes in our complete empty sandbox, and we're going to start a new quiz. You'll notice statistics is up here as well. So there are a lot of options for quizzes, and you can technically upload a quiz or test and import it, but I don't know how to do that because I haven't done that before. So that's something that Brightspace has some tutorials, and you could learn possibly from them or by going through some of the training. But here, let's call this the midterm exam. You can have a category set up already, like tests, or you can add a new category. So if you just want quizzes as opposed to tests, you could do that too. Let's say quizzes and save that, but the category I want here is tests. So if you don't have if you have a points-based course, you don't really need those categories. Although the categories do appear in your grade book, regardless of if you have a points-based class or a weighted percentage-based class. So just kind of be aware of that students will be able to see the categories, and it might make things a little bit easier. So this quiz is empty. I'm going to turn on the description and add a little description. This is the midterm exam for our course. And then I can add and edit questions. Before I do that, I'm going to go over to restrictions just to show you guys what these tabs are. You'll notice that unlike assignments and discussions where the default was to show users, here on quizzes and tests the default is to hide from users. So if you want them to have an availability start date and an end date, we talked about that with discussions as well, that's just for when they can see the material. Here, just for our purposes so that it shows up properly, I'm going to unclick that. But I do want it to have a due date. So yeah, I'm going to set it for, they have it for a week from now. I'm going to set it for the 10th at end of the day. So that's my due date. You can create release conditions, and you can also set a time limit. So you could have a recommended or you can have an enforced. I don't recommend showing the clock because then it has like a countdown for students. But if you have a timed test, you can enforce that limit. Now, there are students who have accommodations where they need extra test time, and I did cover that before, but I'll show you again how to change that. So right now I'm going to enforce the time limit, and we'll give them a 10-minute grace period, allow them to keep working or prevent them from making further changes. You can have all of that. I wouldn't do this. Automatically score the attempt as a 0. Maybe just let them keep working on it and just, or prevent them from finishing if you want to have something timed. I know some of you do. So you can allow students with special access or only allow them with special access that's another restriction that you can put on it. Then we come to assessment. So here we can auto-publish the results automatically upon completion. This means that if you associate it here with the grade book, which you do need to set up, so midterm, short name, also midterm, category, and then if I wanted a description, and then how many points do I want? Let's say this test is out of 50 points. You can set it as can exceed, bonus, or you can exclude from the final grade calculation. Again, if you want some of those things like low stakes assignments or a practice test, you could allow the points so that students can see how many points they get, but it doesn't count actually toward their final grade. The percentage is the default. I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to hide it from users right now. So that's it. Save. So there we go. By setting that up, it automatically links with the grade book. And then you want to click to automatically update evaluations in the grade book when published. So basically, if you don't do that, then you have to go through those tests or those quizzes and fill those out. But if you have something like true, false, or multiple choice, where it's not like word or essay based, you can just have the system grade it for you automatically, the same way as we had with Blackboard. You can also have a number of attempts. So if you want them to be able to do an unlimited amount of attempts, you can. I also like that on new attempts, only allow answers from incorrect questions. So I'm going to allow unlimited attempts. And once I do that, you'll notice that this pops up as able to be clicked, but you do have to apply before you do that. So basically, when they retake, they only have to re-answer the questions that they got incorrect. And then the overall grading calculation can be highest attempt, or if you want to set it as average or first or last, whatever the case may be. I'm going to put it as highest. And I'm going to go back up. And in objectives, we talked about this before, but you can associate learning objectives with this test. So again, if you're doing assessment, that can be really helpful. And then we have submission views. The default view is immediately, but not showing the questions. So you can change this and play with those settings if you want. Otherwise, we're going to go back to properties. And there it is. Now we're going to add some questions. Okay, so you can import, but again, if you have a question library that you've created in Brightspace, you can import that. You can upload a file if you have a test as a file, or from a learning repository. So sometimes if you have an external learning tool, you can do that as well. For our purposes, I'm just going to add some questions. So new question, much like Blackboard, true, false, multiple choice, multiple select, written answer, short answer, etc. Whatever you want, whatever type of question you want. I'm going to create a multiple choice. Maybe. There we go. Okay. We're running a little slow today. So I have a test from before or a quiz, and I'm just going to auto-populate a few things here just to kind of show you what it looks like. Okay, so I have my question and then I have my answers. I really like this feature in Brightspace that over here on the right hand side, they have a preview of what the question looks like. So if you realize like your font's wonky or whatever, you can kind of fix that. You can also, while you're in here, if you decide, hey, I don't want this multiple choice, I actually wanted matching or multiple select, you can change the type of question that you have as well, which is really convenient. You can also pretty easily drag and drop. So maybe I want that before that. You can add answers. I like to keep a pretty standard, I don't know what happened there. I like to keep a pretty standard number. It can be confusing if you have 3 answers and then 4 and then 5. You can also randomize the answer order. What's nice about this is that if you're like me, you can set up something so that it's not here, but let me move it up. You can set up your test so that basically in your own personal notes as you're, typing this in, all of your answers are A, but then here, click to randomize. The randomization is also nice if you're in a computer lab where maybe students can see each other's computers. That randomization can be pretty helpful. You also have some nice options. If you want to add feedback on a question for people who get it wrong, if you want to add a hint when they get it wrong, you can do all of those things up there. And you can also set the number of points. Here I'm going to keep it as 1. I feel like in Blackboard the default was 10 and it really used to mess me up. So here you can save, or you can save and make a new one, or you can save and copy. So now I'm going to have a written response question. This is not like a short answer, which is a different thing. This is for essay questions specifically. So here I'm going to paste my text. You'll notice again, nice thing about Brightspace, everything comes up exactly the same. So even here in our test questions, we've got the same the formatting there, I messed up a little bit. There we go. We have the same options and the same use for accessibility. So if I wanted a picture in here, or if they're supposed to maybe watch a video of somebody reading a poem and then respond to it, or whatever the case may be. And I'm going to make this one, well, let's have 19 points, I guess, since the other one was 1 and we're only going to have 2. And this is what it looks like to the students. I have my zoom on a little bit here, so I'll zoom out. There we go. But basically, they'll have this, and then they'll have a box, and they'll be able to write in that box. And then I'm going to save, and it'll close. So these are my 2-question midterm. It tells you the total number of points, and I'm going to click to go back to the settings. Questions per page. Let's just have 1. You can prevent moving backwards if you want. You can shuffle the questions as well, so that if you have a place where students can see each other's computers, that can be really helpful. Here I'm going to leave that blank, and then I'm going to save and close. And that's it. It's pretty easy. So now my midterm is all set up. I'm going to go back into my content. And let's go into my week 1. We'll have a midterm week 1, right? That's fine. Here I'm going to click existing activities, and I'm going to go down to quizzes. I'm going to associate the midterm exam. And it goes in here automatically, tells you when it's due. And then when I go to my course scheduler, I've got the other crazy assignments I set up, and there are due dates. Notice that with upcoming, it just shows the next week or so it doesn't come up there. But if I click full schedule, I can see the entire thing. So all of those are there, and then there at the bottom is the midterm. And students can click directly from the calendar. They can click from the module as well. They have both of those options. So that's basically it. That's how to set up a quiz and all of the options that are there. Again, just to review, you can create a quiz right here in the module, or you can go to this quiz tab and you can link the quiz later on. Inside the quiz tab, you have the ability to set a category, especially if you have a weighted class. That's going to be important. You can create different types of quiz questions, and when you do that, you can associate the number of points you want with each of those quiz questions. So there are a lot of options there. You're also able to import things for quizzes, but I don't know how to do that, so you have to ask somebody else. I might play around with it, and if I figure it out, I'll make another video for you guys. But otherwise, that's it, and next time we're going to be talking about these modules that I keep discussing, and we'll talk about how to set those up. Thanks, everybody.